Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce, the podcast where we talk to extraordinary coaches and leaders to dive into the realms of leadership and coaching. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. So let's jump in with another guest and find out their answer to the question, what is your secret sauce? All right, well, welcome back. Dave and I have been going through, this is our second session on our coaching culture discussion. We're going through each of the different models that we have. The first one we talked about was the ad hoc or startup model. And this one is the decentralized model. This is our model B, where we're going to describe what it looks like, ask some few questions, we hope that you can find some value in our discussion of each of the models. Maybe even find where your own organization is and what it would take to move to the next level or things like that. So, Dave, can you give us a little bit of a description of the decentralized model?
Sure. Thank you, Matt. And as you think about the decentralized model, it's where each business unit selects coaches and vendors based on differentiated standards. HR does provide some oversight, and some insights into the process, but decisions remain largely autonomous. So the first question we have is for Matt and for me. We both work with companies where every division does their own thing. What patterns have you noticed when that occurs?
Oh, so this is the biggest one. I think what I've seen is the difference between, you get some difference between transformational coaching and behavioral coaching. If you have a business unit that is very operational or operations oriented, you'll find more of a bend towards behavioral coaching, wanting to see coaching right on the spot, having someone give feedback, and then the folks that are in the office workers, the strategic workers, they will actually be more transformational, more internal, more introspective, and thinking a little bit long term. So that's one of the things that I've seen. Is the focus of the coaching. How about you?
Yeah, that's good. I do think the focus is critical, and I'd add like the alignment. So I think of this in like multiple circles, like the individual coaching situation, how that person operates within their team, and then how they operate within the organization. And I think the opportunity to align individual in coaching is so powerful. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with your own leadership? What are some of the things getting in your way? Being able to coach to what can be a public development plan the organization sponsors, but then individually, what are those issues you want to keep confidential within that relationship? And then the other alignment issues, the opportunities are, what does that team need from that individual leader, right? And how does that leader show up for that team, right? Is an opportunity to align the larger team. And then across teams, right? Organizationally is what is important for the organization? How does that leader show up and contribute to the organization's success? So you get the first one, but you lose the opportunity to align to the team and cross team or organizational.
It reminded me, like the moment sort of HR kind of steps in and is providing some insight, depending upon the culture or the perception of your HR, whether they're a true partner or whether they are perceived as a paper pusher or a check the box, all of a sudden you enter into a whole nother world, which is probably why sometimes your coaching is decentralized, is because the business doesn't necessarily trust HR. And they think, hey, look, it's become a compliance thing and I must have done something wrong. Is that why I'm receiving coaching? If HR is involved. So I think that's it's a uniqueness to the decentralized model where you build trust inside of the decentralized organization, but somehow I think you have to kind of figure out a way to bring in HR to help them understand what's going on. So it doesn't seem like it's just scary or, or they're not getting any value from it.
Yeah, the perfect transition, Matt. So how do you help HR play that role where they can add value, right? Provide some oversight without stepping on toes.
Well, the one thing that I think is always the best is if you get HR to be a trained coach, right? Or even teach them coaching skills. And rather than looking at, starting off the conversation with no, you teach them the open ended conversation, and how they can help their leaders like be like serve, do it themselves. I'm going to say self-serving, but do it themselves. All of a sudden, they go, "Wow, there's something powerful to these coaching conversations," and you get them interested in like asking coach-like questions, and then all of a sudden they go, "Wow, this is more powerful," and I don't always have to be in the check the box or paper pusher or sign the compliance orientation. I can do what I really think is cool about HR, which is the development side.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. And actually, you reminded me of our conversations about the importance of experiencing coaching for people making decisions or influencing coaching.
Yeah.
And I think, the highest level is, can we train HR partners to be coaches, right? And then the levels that contribute are, have these HR partners experience coaching so that they can play the role that we want, right, them to
Mm.
play.
Mm.
And I think that's, we have to remember the principles of adult learning. People have to experience stuff, right? We can't just talk about it. People have to be in it.
Yeah. Dave, maybe you could answer this question. What happens when a business unit, so we're in a decentralized model, at least that's what we're seeing, um, they have a bad experience with coaching, and the leader goes, "We're getting rid of this coaching thing. We've spent too much money." Um, what's the ripple effect inside the organization, for one, the bad experience inside the org?
Yeah, I think I've learned the power of proactive public relations work. Right? Is I think you know if you are hearing about it, then it's possible you didn't address it at point like A and B, and you're hearing it about it at point C. So
Mm,
one is, I think we need to be much more proactive, and the importance of measuring the effectiveness of coaching. Right? You don't have to know what's going on in the conversations, but you need to know if people are showing up and they're getting value out of it. That's probably number one. And then the second thing is, um, people people blame all kinds of things in organizations for lack of results and accountability. So I think it's an opportunity to break those things apart and dive into the conversation.
mm.
How about you, Matt?
Well, I would just say that, say an organization has had a bad experience with a coach. One coach maybe violated the container of confidentiality, and that begins to be shared over and over again. I think it's the responsibility of whoever is the sponsor of the coaching, or maybe the learning and development organization, is to help people understand or define what coaching is and what it isn't. Um, and also recognize that, hey, you know what? Sometimes, a coach is human. They're going to make a mistake or things like that. And but I think it goes to what you were saying, is being proactive, helping people understand. Um, a coach is not a one size fits all. It can't be for every leader. They may like one coach, they may not. If the container of confidentiality has been violated, that coach needs to apologize and do their best to make amends. I have seen that too. And then express the long term value, or standing behind coaching as a practice inside the organization. Um, so it just may be a different provider, it may be a different individual, but we hope that they will really get some value out of the coaching. So, Dave,
Yeah,
what if this political football issue, if coaching has become that, um, or maybe it's seen, depending upon who you get. So a company is decentralized, and one part of the organization goes with a company XYZ, and the other company goes with a company ABC. And The one company likes ABC, but doesn't really care for. I mean, like it can just be something that becomes a status thing. How do you see this playing out in organizations?
Yeah, I think I like I like the portfolio approach to not putting all the same eggs in one basket, right? So if you have an opportunity to utilize a particular coaching organization, I like the idea of horizontal pilots, like that cut across different groups, like
Mm.
looking at how you're doing talent management and looking at certain talent and being able to look at and compare what you're getting at a managerial level or senior managerial level, a director level, VP across the organization. So one, I think the approach that we take is important. And then I think in terms of the competition for resources, again, it's the reality of organizations, and you want people to individually express support, but an important role for like leaders, senior level leaders, to make sure they level set across the organization.
Yeah, that kind of takes us into this other question. Like, how do you see, like, okay, so if you're in a decentralized model and let's say you're in the European unit, and you have a certain philosophy of coaching there, you move over to the Americas and it's different. And how does that sort of change things in terms of, what happens if you have different sort of either modalities or different types of coaching styles? Um, you know, what challenges do you see?
Cultures are different, right? And I think it's important for us to kind of be able to, meet the people where they are and meet the culture where they are, right?
Yeah.
So that's important. And then at the same time is sometimes we mistake these cultural differences for more significant differences that we need to address by offering different coaching methods or approaches. I haven't necessarily found that to be the case. I think sometimes there's more awareness, education needed. So I usually take that approach.
Yeah. And I think there's no benefit, no harm if an organization has found a provider. I remember specifically in one instance, someone had found a provider. This was in Asia Pac. They found a provider that was fantastic coaching. And we didn't want to stop it because they were teaching coaching skills. They were teaching, future internal coaches how to do these things. And we're just like, hey, look, this is really good for the organization. A high turnover organization, and they were essentially getting the same sort of benefits that other places were seeing at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. What measurement challenges have you seen when there's no common framework?
Um, hmm. Well, so it's always hard the return on investment, but where I would see is like, hey, how much have our leaders changed in terms of adopting where we want to go as a leadership? And maybe that's learning agility. That's certainly one of the things, or adoption to um, I said, like, sort of stated behaviors that are aspirational. Hey, look, this is what we think a future leader in this organization looks like. Where are you at? Oh, well, we're sort of like, we're not going to change. We're going to stay siloed. This is the way it's going to be. If you've got sort of if you don't have a common framework, hey, look, this is what we're unique. We're different. We're not the same as the rest thing. Our organization focuses on, it could be some facet, like you know they may have like a high performance obligation, and the other organization like, well, it's really not that as important for us. Inclusion is the most important thing, so we're going to focus on that. And you're like, okay, how do you get to, is there some common framework that we're doing in terms of inclusion and high performance? is there some similarity between the two? And nobody is really taking the time to kind of look at both of those and say, hey, is there any commonality that we can get to? Or I think those are some of the benefits of some of the democratized platforms is they have a common set or a common framework that they're looking at, and we can look at where our participants, our coaching recipients, are at relative to that common framework. And I think that's sort of the big challenge, the measurement challenge.
Yeah, and I think that measurement challenge actually cuts across all of the coaching models that we're going to talk about, and we're going to kind of move up that that strategic chain, right? Where the next model is decentralized with organizational standards, right? Standard vendors, leadership expectations exist, but control remains decentralized. Organizations have consistent qualification requirements like ICF certification, while allowing business unit leaders to approve that coaching.
That sounds like a great option, Dave. All
Well,
right, until next time.
thank you very much. Looking forward to discussing the next model.
Me too. All right. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, please share it with another coach or leader. Make sure you go to the show notes to get all the resources from today's episode.